Okay. So, uh, TFT Set 17 should be going on to PBE within the next couple of hours. So I'm going to take this time now. Did Okay. And I'm going to go over everything that I've made thus far. I have made, I think 64, I counted about. I might be off by like one or two in either direction. But yeah, so there's a lot. I also have emblems and artifacts already done as well to some extent. Uh, this isn't going to be perfect because I didn't have like perfect info. I just had everything that was provided, but I didn't like get the playtest or anything. But yeah, I think I did overall a pretty good job. There might be a couple suspect ones, but on the grand scheme of thing, I think like 85% of this should be like close to perfect in terms of what we're gonna see. That's the goal. Uh, Historically, it's about 80%, but I'm trying to go for something a bit better this time. Hopefully, I do a bit better. But yeah, let's get started. I'm just gonna go through here instead of like. Actually, should I open the? No, I'm not gonna do that. Mecha Isol Bard. So we have Mecha. Each of these mecha units they can upgrade and they can like become like better, stronger, and take up two slots. So in this board, you're playing around that. I think most of the time you play on mecha units, you're not going to do that, but in this is just what this board is designed around. So the three mecha traits, it's or mecha gives you stats just like 80 AP, and then if you have all three of them ultimated, you get +1 team size. So as a result, you have this is 10 units worth of board space, but because of mecha, this is like 9. So this is like a level 9 board. And yeah, Mighty Mech is your main tank. I expect them to be really, really good. With because when you ultimate them, you also get like a ton of like health, so he'll be really, really tanky. Your carry will be Acel. You have some secondary carry potential with like Master Yi and Bard. Yeah. We have a good amount of support traits. As I go through these, I'm not gonna like talk about what every trait does, but yeah, that's Mecha. Brawler is just like the bruiser trait, you just get health. Channeler is the mana trait. You get mana. Marauder is like the AD fighter trait. The two-piece grants your team 5% Omnivamp, which is pretty good. Uh, yeah. Psionic is an item trait. So they have these special items that you can give your team. So with two psionic, you can get one of the items you can put on someone. You don't have to be, they don't have to be a psionic to get the bonus. Or like you can put it on non-psionic units. So if like there's a tank one you can put, there's AP ones you can put here, or you can put them on like Master Yi. Yeah, and Voyager is the like strategist like support trait where uh tanks and like melee champions they get a shield and backliners get damage amp. So a bunch of support traits playing around this setup. And like I said here, I don't know what the forms do. But like they did tell us this. So I just planned with that in mind. But for the most part, a mecha board isn't gonna be this. And I'll talk about some of the other mecha boards. Redeemer Asol. This is like kind of an Asol centric comp. You have a nice trait spread here. We have a bunch of familiar traits. We have Nova and Vanguard, which are new. Nova is like Piltover. It's like set 16 Piltover, where it's like a two-piece thing that has different effects. You can choose based on the units, and like I couldn't see everything with them, so it's hard to say. But the two-piece, you get uh the one you want to play around here is probably a Collies, because it gives you spell crit. So you would replace this Jewel Gauntlet with something else. I didn't know that because I didn't know what precision was until later. But yeah, that's what you'd play around. It's a similar board, except you're focusing more on the ASOL over like the mecha aspect. Actually, in this board, I'm not even mechaing either. That might need to replace this. I'll do that now because I can. Actually, wait, no, this is a Redeemer board. Yeah, but I'm still gonna move stuff to Karma. Let's crank. Akali. Workout. I think that's everything. Something like this. And then you have your items. Because we're not mecha you do this, and then because we have free spell crit from Akali, something like this. Or actually, I kind of need AP. Wait, if I have spell crit, I don't even need this. Oh. Wait, this is pretty good. And yeah, we'll do this. See, like I can update this in real time, and it's all chill. And then I'll replace the one that it was, and then I can go into this. Whoa. That's better. I don't know if this is like. I mean, because we're not activating Mecha, I'd rather just play around Karma here. I don't know if. Does it even have attack speed scaling? I mean, I don't know what the ultimate forms do. So once I do in like a couple hours, I can revise this. But the goal is to go over everything before I even get to play, so that afterwards I can come back and see how well I did. So yeah, and that's one I can't really fault myself for if I just don't have the complete info. Dark Star Karma. Uh, Dark Star's cool, but I don't think you're gonna play around it without an emblem. The trait web's kind of messy, but Dark Star, it's the two piece gives your team a global 10% execute, which is really good. And then the 4 and the 6, they give stats and then 6 buffs both effects. So it's a pretty good trait, but the trait connections is kind of rough. So it's kind of hard to like, fit in good units. So that's what I'm saying. Like you probably needed an emblem here. Uh, but yeah, you have Karma as your main carry. She's just an AP mage. Mighty Mech is probably a better tank. I don't know. It's between Tom Kench and Mighty Mech, whoever you hit. And then Jin secondary carry, and that's about it. Uh, the tuning wise, this is probably like gonna be like a mid comp. Voyager Karma. This is one I kind of left flexible. This is kind of a shell for you can put some other stuff. There's a lot of like flex units you can put in here. But you're playing around the Voyager, Shepherd. I mean, these are all like support traits, except for Vanguard. Well, it's kind of like it's a fake support trait, but Voyager is a really nice because the scaling, because you can like 4 Voyager gives 18% damage amp, which is pretty good. To have like any other units have. Um, and yeah, it's the same like familiar units. My neck is a tank. Karma. mage, and because we're not playing Akali, you actually just give her normal spell crit. Vanguard Zaya. This is a very nice, like, this one took a bit to get here, but I think this is a pretty min-maxed comp. Uh, so this is just a Vanguard sniper, essentially, and then optimized to fits better, play better units. Yeah, so you have 4 Vanguard, 2 Bastion. This is to be able to get in Stargazer, and then you can throw in Shen, which is a 5-cost Bastion, which you can never really complain about. And then yeah, Nunu is the crowd control tank. So it's real giving him like real tank items might be hard. Like he's not gonna be as tanky as other tanks, but he'll do the job. And with 4 Vanguard, 2 Bastion, he'll be okay. Uh Shen Blitzcrank are 5 costs, but they're not tanks, so that has to be kept in mind. Zaya is just a typical ADC Ginsu's user, and then Jin is like a AD caster. You're gonna play around these two, and you have both of their traits active. Stargazer is like Ionia plus like KDA or Street Demon or something. It's like Ionia, but like its effects are on the hexes. So every game you'll have like different effects, and then these effects are also going to be limited to certain like hexes. Like you have to put your unit on a certain position to do that. Last sets I played till Masters and I just stopped. Like I hit Masters like in like the first like patch. I think like slightly after the first patch, and I just stopped. Mostly because of like personal stuff and Aram Mayhem. But yeah, I've hit GM Challenger before. I just don't play enough games ever to do that. The more fun part is to do this stuff. Like right now is the most fun part of TFT for me. Yeah. If I were invited to playtest, I would have the answers to everything. Or like to like a lot of the stuff that I don't have the answers to now. But I was not. But maybe next time. But I feel like that would actually be problematic to some extent because I am very practiced at doing this kind of thing. So yeah. Sniper Zaya. The this is gonna be like a very good default board. Uh Everything lines up pretty nice and you don't have that much like filler units. Uh it's only like level 8 board. You can put in another flex unit as well, like a Morgana. But this is another default Zaya board. Whichever one ends up being like better, like it'll be one or the other usually, but it'll be like it'll probably be between these. So like I'm trying to like the best comparison I have is like sets 15. You had like the different uh I guess in this case it was more like these resemble the Yumi boards more with like Prodigy versus like the Battle Academia Bastion hybrid thing. Or maybe like the Varus boards? Like the not really. I don't know. But those are the vibes I get from this. But yeah, Zaya is the same. Ramus is another tank. Uh, I mean he's a tank. He's a meeple, and meeple, it has its unique property where like it's like Amp or like Battle Academia where it has its own uh not units currents not I mean it's like a currency but like not really uh thing that scales it. The word is eluding me, but it has its own amplifier, whatever. So you get like we have the percentage sign here, but it's just like it's two meep or whatever. I don't know. It's something like that, and that buffs all the units' effects. In this board, that doesn't matter that much, because we know that Bard's effect doesn't matter that much, and then we only have Nar Ramus. Ramus's might do something. I think it buffs his damage, but we're not playing him for damage here, so we don't really care. But it is activated, so he does get the benefits and some health or durability. What is it? Health? I mean, something. But yeah, I expect this to be a default board. Uh, I think this is gonna be a pretty popular comp in like the competitive community. We have Shepherd LeBlanc. This one's a little sus because I'm just trying to figure out how you get 7 Shepherd in. Because, I mean, people are going to want to see that. More realistically, you're probably going to get like a 5 Shepherd variance. Uh, yeah, I should make that. Because otherwise, people are going to be like, oh, you can't play this comp without the emblem. And I'm like, you shouldn't play comps based on emblems. Or you shouldn't. This is not the intent for that. So it's my mistake. So we can watch in real time as I fix this. LeBlanc, Sona. Who'd I drop? So I made like this. Is there an easy drop here? Yes, there is. And who's the carry? I don't know, but it'll be one of these, and you can do that. Yeah, I'm just gonna update this now. But I'll do it as its own thing. 5 ship. Or I'll do this. And then we'll duplicate this. Not like that. We'll do this. 5 Shepherd LeBlanc. And we're going to instead link this to the 5 version instead of the 7 version. We and then in this version, we will link the other one. My keyboard is not very good. It gets like stuck. What's the... Cool. But yeah, Shepherd is a summon trait. I didn't even talk about that. You summon the Bia, which is like, I don't know, it's like a little fox thing. Bayan, which is like a bigger fox thing. And then at 7, you can summon both. But as for what they do, I don't know. I don't even know if they're melee or ranged. I didn't really pay attention to the video, but it doesn't matter that much because I have both frontline and backline covered. You can adapt it based on whether they're frontline or backline. So if they're frontline, well, I mean your backline's kind of solid, but if they're backline, you should add more. You should add more frontline anyway. What am I saying? Arbiter LeBlanc. So when making this comp, I had no idea. I knew like Arbiter's like a admin trait where you can make your own traits, but I didn't know what the effects were. It wasn't until reviewing playtest VODs and stuff that I like learned how the cause and effects works. So it's more limited than it would seem. You can generally play it as a support trait, but for the most part, like you're playing this variation if you get a good LeBlanc Arbiter. Uh, and then the trait rep's pretty well rounded. We have a bunch of like familiar traits. Tom Kench is your tank here. He has Oracle, so Tom Kench is like pretty interesting because he's a brawler, but he has a unique trait, and this unique trait gives loot. So he's gonna be a very popular unit. He's also pretty tanky. I think something this comp doesn't show it here, but I think Tahm Kench is gonna be a really good adaptive user because all champions that have like instant cast abilities slash like they don't so like healing doesn't mana lock your champion, whereas like stuff like a shield or like durability, like anything that's like a duration, that'll mana lock your champion for like the 3, 4, 5 seconds it lasts. Whereas like instant heal abilities, like they can cast and then they can immediately start generating mana. So that's how you get stuff like the current set Darius, like Noxus Darius, where he builds adaptive because he is a instant cast healer. And yeah, Tahm Kench is gonna be the same way, so I expect this to be very good. So I have in some boards I have him with adaptives, others I don't. And yeah. LeBlanc is a AP marksman. So she yeah, you can't really read this. But she's just a typical like Ginsu's Archangel type champion. She scales into the fight, she summons clones, and they just do more auto attack damage. And yeah, she's an auto attacker, but her damage is magic. And scales with like yeah. And then Sona, she has unique trait Commander, which allows you to give mods to your like to a champion, and these mods are pretty straightforward. I mean, they have like I think there's 7 of them, and they have different effects. Some can buff your champion in combat. Some have like other stuff, like they can give gold or XP, and they cycle every 2 turns. So even though some of them seem broken, you're not gonna have that one for the whole game. So yeah, but she's a really good like support unit to have because she has Psionic, which can give an item, and then her unique traits. But she also is just an AP caster. I didn't even talk about what she does. Uh, I mean, she throws like rocks and does damage, and then after forecasts or every forecasts, she has like a big cast, and yeah, pretty straightforward. Meeple, Corky, Irvin. This is another one similar to like the Shepherd situation. I think playing 7 Meeple is going to be very difficult because there are some terrible units in that. If you have an emblem, it's 7 Meeple, but with 5, I think or if with no emblem, I think you just play 5 and you play this board. Uh, so I talked about what Meeple does. Corky is the same as set 13 Corky, Arcane Corky. He just flies around and like rocket barrages. We have Timebreaker, which is Milia and Riven. These are our +2. And this is a level 7 board, so you can throw in other units. Like you can go 7 Meeple on 9, but I wouldn't go it on 8 without emblem. Time Weaver is a weird support trait because it's at 2 it's an econ trait, and at 3 and 4 or at 3 it's a combat support trait, and at 4 it's a selfish combat trait. And yeah, Riven is a really good flex units. She kind of just dashes around and does a lot of damage. She can be built either AD or AP. But the way her ability works, she dashes and gains a shield. So I am very like almost positive that she's going to be a like I think people don't understand that this is going to be the case. Similar to Diana in set 16, she's going to be a Titan's BT Ginsu user. If you've played Vi, like set 16 Vi as an item holder for Diana, it's going to work in the same way. Fighters are no longer mana locked because of roles revamped. So Riven is going to be stacking like really big shields, and she's going to be moving around and it's basically unkillable. And then damage wise, I don't know how much damage she's going to do because I can't see her numbers. But I mean, she's going to eventually like drain tank everything anyway. Like even if her damage is like terrible with this build, she's going to be unkillable. So it doesn't matter. And another thing is I didn't know because I didn't know how precision worked. I have the wrong build on Corki. So yeah, this time I'll fix it because it's a little embarrassing. People will be like, "Why are you building IE on Corki?" But okay, why? Okay, okay. He's a Fate Weaver, which has precision. Precision is the new keyword for spell crits. I didn't know what it was before. I thought it was like the dash or something because like precision is grace is like an augment, but no, it's the keyword for spell crit. So and you don't need to have the trait active. He just has this, so you don't need to build spell crits on him. So instead, you should just build like. Do you even need this? It's probably better component wise. And then I'll give you this. Emilio, Poppy Fizz Bard Ribbon. Poppy Fizz Bard Ribbon. So yeah, one of my big like theories is whether this ribbon build is correct, and whether I get to say "I told you so" to everyone. They're not gonna stop. I think I have it labeled as this. I'm hoping this is well. Either way, yeah, it's fine. Oh yeah, so pretty standard core, I think, and you have an extra slot to play around. Rogue Riven. Rogue Riven. This is just another case of Riven Flex. This one I tried to make a dedicated Riven board, but that's pretty awkward. So uh yeah, this is what I ended up getting to, and then it kind of turned into a hybrid board. Uh Riven is like very secondary carry natured anyway, but in this case so like it's probably gonna be Zaya main carry, but this is another core. It's also the only way I found that you would ever play Talon on your board. Uh, because I think Talon reroll. Like I tried to like find a board, and it's just super scuffed. If the numbers are good enough, he will just be broken anyway, and you'll just play him in like a garbage board that plays around Talon. But this is like the worth the wait Talon board. I figured out because I could not make a Talon board that actually fit in other units that were good. So yeah. We have Sniper. We have Rogue. Rogue is the assassin trait, but this instead of like normally like you have this assassin trait giving you crits, this gives you AD and AP, but you also have this like, and this is like the kind of normal part. Uh, when they you have the free edge of night basically, but when they proc it, they dash to backline. Like they dash to enemy backline. So that makes it really like good because when it procs, you have to be careful that she dashes onto the enemy backline and just kills them, or they have to be careful about that. And yeah, the other thing to talk about, I guess, is Redeemer. Oh, I brought it up earlier, but I didn't talk about what it did. So, yeah, uh, I don't have Redeemer on this board. Whoops. Whoops. But yeah, what Redeemer actually does is it's basically like Jazz or Bronze for Life, where for every non-unique trait you have, your team gains armor, magic resist, and attack speed. And the number can get really high. Frost's individual value can be like better than pretty much any of the other like support traits that you would get activated. It's really really strong. And then yeah, his spell's like pretty good too. So he's really good to throw. If you have like four or so traits, I think that's enough, or it's worth putting Rost in. But here we have six, so that's pretty good. Okay, Psionic. So we talked about Psionic. You get these items. Uh, I think most of these units we talked about. Master Yi. This is his first set since like set three. So congrats to him. He made it. He's an auto attacker, so every like he gets attack speed, omnivamp and stuff in his ability. He passively has this like AoE cleave. He's another one of like these champions, except I think everyone knows that he's gonna be one of these champions. But yeah. The only thing is that his build might depend on what the do we have the no we don't have the Sanacon items yet. But we have them here. Uh, so we can look at the psionic items because it might be more relevant here. We have two AP ones, we have a tank one, and we have two AG ones. I think this one in particular probably gonna be the one that he gets. So if you have Malware Matrix, that's when you consider playing around Yi. It gives Omnivamp, and it also like is the best synergizing with being an auto attacker. So yeah, and I have this. Oh, I have the wrong item here. It doesn't. It's fine. And yeah, you're playing around E primary carry, and then I guess Sona secondary carry. You have four Psionic. So Psionic, you get a second item, but you also add extra effects to the units, and you can see those effects here. These like four. And only Psionic units can access these. So that's why I want to make sure that the holders are the Psionic units. There might be a world where like you play around one Psionic unit and then like your secondary carry is a non-Psionic unit. But like that's just not what I'm pretending that that's not gonna be the case. No, I know that that's probably gonna happen. Now we have Nova Kindred. Nova is a really strong trait on its own, but it connects to other traits rather poorly. There is a couple good. Okay, so specifically the backliners really suck at connecting to other traits. I think the rest of these are fine. Akali is carried by the Urgot's Maokai core, but is otherwise really hard to connect as well. And then these are tanks with tank traits, so they're kind of the only ones that you would see most of the time. Nova, what it does, and I didn't realize this until it was clarified. So you have these like this list of like characteristics that you activate when you have two Nova activated. Uh, After 6 seconds, which based on whichever champion you have on your board, you get all of these effects. So if you have like Maokai Aatrox, your two Nova, after 6 seconds, you will get 15% max health, heal, and all allies 30% Shred Sunder, which, by the way, this one is broken. And so is the Kali one. Like, these two are broken. And then at 5, you get this other effect that I can't see what it is, but like they have apparently really cool effects. Uh, I think the HX one like is like AoE CC. Maokai's is another AoE CC, or like I don't know what they do, but I do know that it's an additional thing that you can't even see here, and it's specific to the units. I'd imagine it works kind of similar to mech, where it's like a super thing that like buffs your one unit, and they get like an ability type upgrade. But 5 Nova is really hard to fit, so this is a pretty lazy version where I just try to activate their traits. Tom Kench is a tank. I actually have the Adapt Tech here. Kindred is a challenger, AD carry, marksman. Uh, Unlike your junglers in League. She just auto attacks and she dashes around and does damage. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I think this is gonna be a hard trait to tune, but because it doesn't connect well, it might not be a problem. It'll be like set 14 Boombot, where at some point the trade is just overtuned numbers wise, but all the units and everything suck. But we had like the Garen tech, and you can throw the Boombot emblem onto actually good units. But that's not gonna happen this sets because we don't have that. But this is like how I kind of view this set. Also, this, funnily enough, the way that this trait works is very similar to a trait I made in the custom set that I made. And I thought that was really funny because the more I learned about the traits, the more I realized that it's just the same thing. Space Groove Nami. Space Groove is another vertical origin. Its effects, I don't know, it's not that complicated, but for some reason it seems complicated. So innately, uh, Space Groove units can have this buff. This buff gives them regen, attack speed, and it gives them additional effects. Or like not additional effects, but like some stuff depends on whether they're in the groove or not. So that's just innately. So that's why you have this one activated. 3 Space Groove doesn't do that. It gives them a little bit of time. However, the real benefit is at 5 Space Groove because that's where you start getting ramping AD and AP per second spent in the groove. So a lot of these champions want to be in this groove state for as long as possible because that's how they get their stats. So yeah, on its own, it's like regen and attack speed, and then if you have 5 activated, it gives you AD and AP. And it can be a lot. So that's the core. You have 5 Space Groove activated because that's the main benefit of the trait. And then in the board you have Nami, who is just a AP caster. She's a replicator. Replicators, they repeat their cast, and they like after they cast, they'll do a weaker secondary version of their cast. I don't know how Pantheon works with that, but I've asked like a bunch of people how Pantheon works, and they have not answered me. So we'll never know. We'll know in like 2 hours. Yeah, we have Riven secondary carry because she fits pretty well in as a secondary carry, and yeah, trait wise. And Timebreaker helps like econ, and then yeah. Tanks, it's kind of sus. Ornn is a pretty good tank, but I also like Tom Kench, and he helps a bit here. But it's between one of these two, just depending on what you have available. Like if you have Ornn 2 versus Tom Kench 1, you will probably go for the Ornn. One thing that I probably did messed up on these comps is that I'm underestimating the power of the 3-cost tank. But without being able to see the numbers, I mean, it's not my fault. But I mean, like some of these units are supposed to be really strong, according to Riot. I think these in particular. All right, actually, I think all of them. Right, they're supposed to be almost 4 costs. So I don't know. There's a world where this comp is messed up because Ornn is supposed to be the main tank, but I think this is a pretty solid board overall. Anima cash out. So Anima is the cash out trait. It is basically the same thing as Cambaron from set 13, except you can place the items on any unit. Otherwise, it's like almost exactly the same. Uh, there's like very slight differences in like how it scales, but It's basically the same thing. So yeah, this is just a cash out board. Uh, I mean, I tried to make a normal board and then I capped it out, so it's something like this. You play around Fiora, which is an anima, and then Aurora Laui, and then you're just putting a bunch of high value units to round out traits and damage and stuff. And I think this is the only way I was able to get a tank onto this board. So, I mean, going back on what I said before, if Alawi is supposed to be the main tank, my bad. But that's not, it's not my fault for prioritizing a 4-cost tank over a 3-cost tank in a not reroll comp. Psionic. So I have like this is the same board, like repeated. Um, it's a shell I created to try to suit these like flex 5 costs, where I try to activate a bunch of stuff and give them like a bunch of like utility that they could use. There are other boards like this. I'm going to stop the cap here. Actually, I'll do this one as the... But basically, I have the shell, and you play the shell plus Zed, Graves, Vex, or something else, I guess like Morgana or something. And yeah, you have a bunch of stuff activated. You have the Psionic item, you have Shepherd Summon, Channeler, Darkstar, Voyager. It's a pretty good shell. Yeah, that's the theory. There, over time, as I was optimizing comps, I've made more space for other units to fit. But this is the first one that I made with the purpose of playing these units. So yeah, but a lot of the boards I ended up making have like 7 or 8 slots. Meaning you have like 1 or 2 extra to throw in like a Zed or a Graves or something. Jin Fast 9. This is a pretty standard Fast 9 board. I optimized around Jin and it fits things pretty well. I've seen people make this on Twitter, except I've had this here for at least 2 days. So yeah, but we have a nice core of 5 costs that you have to play around. Like he's gonna be the main carry, and then secondary carry is just whichever one is broken at the moment. Or I mean, if Jin is not broken at the moment and it's just a bunch of these, then you play these. But it's a pretty straightforward shell of units. You activate a bunch of traits, so you have Redeemer. Rammus is a really good tank, and yeah, this I think this is a perfect synergy board. This is Fast 9 5-cost soup. You just throw in a bunch of stuff here. This is not a real comp, but might be something that ends up being played because the early balance is not going to be very good. But over time, I expect this not to be a real thing. Maybe like this shell couldn't be a thing. These are flex slots. But honestly, it's actually not even that bad. I think about it because I kind of fixed it a bit. It looked way worse before. But you play around traits activated. Uh, Jin, Shen, Blitzcrank, Morgana. And these two don't have like traits. They only have their unique trait. Well, so does Morgana, but Morgana's unique trait is a support trait, and these are selfish unique traits. Yeah, Nunu's your tank, I guess, which is kind of sus. But with how many 5 costs are on this board, maybe it's acceptable. 5 Stargazer. I tried really hard to fit Stargazer units without the traits being terrible. The main problem is that you have these two, which are unplayable on pretty much any board, and you only have 4 other Stargazers. So, yeah. There's very few boards that you'd fit in either of these units. Their traits are not very good, and that becomes a problem. But yeah, 5 Stargazer with Emblem, and without those 2 units, pretty stable core with good traits. You can play around Nunu main tank. Right now there's a bug where Nunu, like a bug on tactics that like Nunu's icon doesn't work. So I mean, yeah, Nunu doesn't look like this, but Nunu supports, or he's a CC unit tank. You have Jinzaya, Nami. Like you're just playing around all the other Stargazers. So in this case, Nunu, Zaya, Jax, Lulu +1, and then fill in other traits. And yeah, you can get Space Groove activated pretty easily with or Nami Blitzcrank, which are the 3 best Space Grooves. So that's something. There's probably other variations to this, but actually, is there? Like you can get Shannon. You don't play around Replicator. You can add another sniper. You can do like Nar, uh, Remis, Bard. That's not that bad either. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of different variations of the Stargazer trait. So this is on a standard like 5 Stargazer. Some of them are a bit more forgiving. Like this mountain one is just a completely different game. Uh, this one you'll just play 4 probably. That's it. But yeah, most of these have like 5, 5, 5. Actually, that's, I mean, yeah, yeah. I don't expect you to play around 5 most of the time, is what I'm saying. Most boards are gonna have 3, and I think that's fine. And I think 7 is like super unplayable. Like, I applaud the balancing choices that would make that viable. Brawler Acel, this is one that I optimized a little bit to fix. We have this really nice core of like Urgot Akali. I realize now it's still messed up because I didn't realize that. Okay, my bad. Spell crit means I don't have to build crit. I can just build normal. Or I mean normal as in not spell crit. Your channeler, right? I'll give you this. And in this board, because it's mecha centric or it's ASOL centric, you play on level 8s, you just mecha your ASOL. And there's another reroll version that is the same thing, except you're playing on 7 and you're playing around Victor Urgot, and you don't mecha the ASOL and you just have 7 units. So that works out very nicely. When I have this many things, it's a little difficult to. Well, here. But yeah, this was a 6 brawler comp that I fixed and brought the forward brawler, and I have good traits in. You have Psionic, uh, Channeler, Marauder Nova, and yeah, this package gives you spell crit, so you don't need spell crit. Like it's just wait a minute. Oh, I was right. You do need crit chance. It's okay. I am not very sharp today because even though your spells can crit, you still need crit percent. I fixed another one and I ruined some other board by this one. And I positioned this way to get this like straight line laser thing if stuff wrapped around this unit. Protect Blitzcrank, Karma wants the AoE, and she'll hit this in AoE. So that's how that works. This also might be low on AP, so there might actually be a world where you build Jeweled Gauntlet anyway, and you get the crit damage. Right? Okay. Yeah, so this is a streak of things like this. 6 Brawler Kindred. I don't think this is very good, but it's a six brawler comp. So maybe if the trait's overtuned, you can fit something. Or this is how I try to fit in units with six brawler. So we have Kindred Belveth to connect some traits. It's a bunch of frontliners and a carry, and you have one more slot for a flex unit. It's not that bad, but I don't. It's really scuffed, and like the unit quality is kind of poor. So it's kind of depends on how good six brawler is. Riven is another attempt. We have the awkward situation of I think these two units are going to build the same thing, and that's. I mean, the components aren't like they don't clash. I mean, it's two bows, but it's not like the worst thing that could happen. And yeah, you. This is just a double like melee threat board, or you have a Yi and a Riven just completely messing up the enemy, and you have a really tanky front line to buy time for them to do that. So this is something, and you have traits that fit here as well. Vanguard LeBlanc. This is a six Vanguard comp. Uh, this one. So the other Vanguard comp turned into the Vanguard Zaya, and that one actually turned out good. This one I think is going to be less good, but I mean it might be playable. You have six Vanguard stalling for LeBlanc, which is a scaling carry, and then you can fit in Sona, Shepherd. I mean, you can fit in other stuff, but I think Sona's a better Shepherd. And yeah, Nunu's your main tank, and six Vanguard. They shield themselves. I might not have shown that, but it's the same Vanguard as normal, where they get a shield at combat start and at 50% health, and they get a little bit of durability. Six Fashion Corky. This time I did this correctly, to some extent. Uh, Six Fashion board. You play around Corky and Caitlyn because you get your Meeple and your Nova. And yeah, this is one of the few boards that can fit in Fate Weavers. So, and then you have another slot for another Flex 5 cost. You also have six Fashion Zaya. This one's a little bit more sus, but it like kind of worked, so I kind of tried, and then I realized, oh, you probably need an emblem. Uh, because there's a four Bastion version, maybe. No, because you have to sack to you'd have to sack the Shen in the front row. No, you can sack the Ornn. Okay, I guess we'll do that. Zaya Jin Nar and Nunu. Nunu has this cool icon, but it doesn't work. And then positioning. I don't know how you position Jin. Cause I think his things just come from the side anyway, so it doesn't actually matter what his like main thing is targeting. And then Bastions really like uh Gunblade because it gives them a lot of effective health, more so than the other three tank traits or the other two and a half tank traits. We have four Bastion, but I'm still giving him a stone plate because Rammus scales really well with resists. And yeah, I think this is a better looking version. We can throw in a random Mordekaiser. And that fixes traits. I mean, like Dark Star's pretty good. Vanguard's kind of fake here, but not. I don't know how many of them shield, so maybe it's not that terrible. But yeah, okay. That's that comp. We have Six Bastion Flux, which is just the idea that you can play Six Bastion and play a bunch of slop. We've seen this before. I'm sure it's gonna happen again, so I've taken that into account. Replicator Nami. So this is me trying to make okay. Replicator is kind of annoying to fit into boards. So like the unit quality on this board is not that good. Like you have this situation here, but I mean these are okay. This is a Nami board playing around a Replicator, and then Riven's a good secondary carry that fits. So I have no problems with that. Nunu, good card control units. No problems with that. This board is like not that tanky because these are low cost. This is not a tank, and this is not a super tanky tank, and this is also a damage dealer, not a tank. But maybe Nunu Riven will do work here. And then we're just giving Nami crits here because I just by default will assume we got crits the best since Riot overtuned it. 6 anima. I forgot that they had a 6 anima. Fitting in, so you need to play all of the anima units plus emblem, and if you do that, you get like you just get like orbs on winning. So it's like I don't know how good it's gonna be, but I need to take that into account. So this is what I came to. You're just fitting in Tom Kench, Blitzcrank, Urgot's Mech. There's 5 anima otherwise, so that's 9 units. And yeah, probably gonna play around Fiora. Like you're gonna be rich enough probably if you're in a position to get 6 anima. That's you can probably just focus on like a Blitzcrank Fiora, but the cap here isn't that high because these anima units are not that good. So I don't know. Like I would probably play this anima cash out board over this, but this is just what I came to the conclusion for. Next, you may have seen here we have this thing. What does it do? I don't know. But 11 Stargazer. I will show that this one in particular, every 5 player combats, you gain a Stargazer emblem. So the way you play around this straight, like, okay, so to get to 11 Stargazer, normally you have to, like, build the emblems to get the prismatic traits. But in this one, I think you have to build, like, a tactician's item. So instead of using your spats plus a component, you have to just use your spat or pan to create a +1 item slot. I think that's the intent of this. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, uh, trying to fit it in traits and units with the Stargazer. We have these two bums in the corner. And it's a pretty straightforward, like, Jin board, Zaya. Like this core we've seen in a bunch of boards before. And then last one, which I've added like this morning, Asol Blessing cash out. Apparently, uh, what this does, or okay, I don't know if this is the only one, but this is what Mort said is what this is, which I guess I don't know if there's gonna be more or if this is the only one, but Mort said that this is the one. So yeah, you survive for 8 rounds, you get one of every emblem. So this is a board that can accommodate one of every emblem. You don't have anything activated. You're depending on the emblems. Yeah, and it's mostly 5 costs, 4 costs, trait bot, and you're activating most traits. You can throw a Rost in here probably. Uh, I don't know who'd sacrifice. Maybe the Kindred. But yeah, that should be something you a high risk, high reward situation. Now we have the reroll comps. That we have a good amount of them. I tried to make at least a reroll comp for every unit. I mostly succeeded. Um, I think the ones that I didn't are like these two. Because Jinx just seems like an item holder. She's like really coded to that. As a carry, it's like really hard to get like a board that does anything with her. Unless Jinx herself is just super broken. But as a cash out trait to units, I don't expect that to happen. And then Talon, it's just hard to make a board. His like spell's like fine, but I don't know, it's just kind of annoying to make a board. So he doesn't have a reroll, but he does have a couple boards where he's played. Yeah. So we'll go through here. Uh, Anima Aurora. This is the. I was just trying to make an anima board, and I landed on this as a reroll board. Pretty stable core. I don't know how much you play into anima. Like, you're probably not getting like a huge cash outs, but it's just like a. It's like your Rennie. What is the? I forgot what the board was. But there was a 3 cost Cam Baron reroll, and that's kind of what this is. Allow is your tank, Aurora is your main carry. She's an AP carry. Diana is a auto attacker, but she's just probably gonna build like this. And yeah, you get Arbiter. If your Arbiter's good, I mean, if your Arbiter's Diana coded, then that's good. Otherwise, you just play something that supports Aurora. Uh, the positioning here might be different because Aurora's ability is based on the enemy damage taken. It works like Echo in the current set. I'll go to this. Because it's it's like this zone thing that stores damage, and I think wait. Whoa. This like gets messed up. But yeah, Aurora's spell basically does the same thing, except she's ranged. But it stores a percentage of the damage they do, and then it does it again later. So, I should probably put Diana like in front of Aurora. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward reroll, and you can get anima items. I don't know what they do. They'd probably replace some other items here, but yeah, I think this is a pretty easy board to get to, and will probably be played a lot. Challenger MF Diana. This is okay. So MF, what she does, you can choose her traits. You can't do that here, but she has either challenger, channeler, or replicator, and she has a unique ability, and she gets the trait. So in this board, she's a challenger. What does the challenger ability do? I don't know. So that in that regard, the items are messed up. Uh, yeah, I don't know what her ability does. So yeah, but you play challenger Diana MF and Alawi, and this is very reminiscent of the previous board here. You kind of just fit in a similar core, and then because you're not playing around anima, because you're playing MF, you can just flex in some other support traits and frontline stall. In this board, MF is a channeler. Channeler is the mana regen trait. Uh, just based on that, I assumed she could be fine with no mana. That's probably wrong, but yeah. Yeah, like you probably still give her a mana item. But similar kind of structure. I'm playing around 3 costs here. Uh, this time I play on Victor because I mean he's another 3 cost channeler, and just try to activate stuff that fits him. Ornn was really good here. Probably better tank than Maokai. I don't know why I put items on Maokai here. Actually, okay, two mistakes. I'll redo it. Like one mistake, I'll just like kind of cope, but with two. Also, there's five three costs, six three costs. What? No, it's five. Victor's spell the is like a one hex AOE storm, so you want to position him like this to try to AOE as many people as possible. This is a pretty tanky front line, all things considered. Actually, this isn't even that bad. I'll leave this actually. I don't know like who you main tank. It can probably be any of the three. But yeah, you just playing a core around Victor MF channelers. Replicator MF. So this is MF as a replicator. Uh, you the board is built around Lulu, so you have Stargazer, and then you have Rost because I needed another extra unit, and you have some stuff here. It's just frontline, backline. Yeah, it's just frontline, backline. I think playing for four replicator is tricky. Depending on how tanky these things are, but I mean, I'm just kind of relying on these two units together doing a lot of damage, so you just want to give them really strong frontline. So yeah, I'm when possible avoiding four replicator. Nova Belveth Akali. So this is five Nova Akali, pretty much, and then Belveth secondary carry. Uh, I had made this board off of Emblem just because otherwise you have to play Kindred, Caitlyn, and it's kind of awkward. But this is like I think a board that I came to from optimizing this Akali comp. But basically you're playing five Nova. It's the same kind of core as the other one, but I'll talk about that. Or I mean, I'll talk about it now, and then you'll see it again. Akali is a just AD assassin, or she's a fighter, but like she kind of like dashes around, like throws kunai or something. Pantheon, he just channels, he gets their ability, and I think heals or shields. Uh, Belveth is a trait bot, but like also your carry here. So she is kind of similar to no, not really. It's just her E in League, where she like just channels and like she's. We've seen this at Belveth before, I think. I just don't remember which Belveth. But yeah, and we play a little bit on Primordian, assuming that it's like somewhat good. Uh, I don't know how good it is when you're not like hard committing to it, but yeah, this is a standard two cost reroll, and you have double econ traits because you have Primordian and you have Timebreaker, which are both econ traits. Primordian, you'll put in like the Rek'Sai before you have like your five Nova. So you should be able to get to your three stars pretty quickly and then start pushing levels to get to five. So I think the board you play on six is it's just this plus one. Like you play this. Oh wait, It's this. Or it's some Nova plus like these five. So like any of these. So yeah, so I'll be right back. Okay. We have another. It's the same like core, except instead of playing around Nova, we play around Marauder and Brawler because we can fit those pretty easily. Uh, or not that easily, but like it's easy to some extent. Without Emblem, you just play 4-4. So 4 Marauder, 4 Brawler. But yeah, just the fact that you can get 6-4 is pretty good. But it's the same game plan. You're gonna play 3 Primordian, but not 2 Timebreaker in this version. So that's why I maybe favor the other one because you're just gonna hit faster. Okay. Kate TF reroll. So Caitlyn is an auto attacker, and TF is a caster. Their Fate Weaver traits is really weird, as Mortdog would say. They can innately crit. At 2, their effects, like they have like better luck. Because I mean, Caitlyn says it says she has a chance to deal empowered headshots, and TF he has like a 1 through 9 system. It's like magnitude in Pokemon, so it gives that some luck. And this is just a pretty straightforward like Bastion reroll board. You're playing around like this core. You have Aatrox's really broken Nova, giving free Shred and Sunder. So that helps a lot. And yeah, you're just rerolling the low costs and then you cap out with the high costs. Primordian Briar. This is just Primordian comp, and then you cap out. 3 Primordian. Try to fit in some other stuff that fits. Uh, yeah, you can. There's more tech with Cho'Gath, but I'll talk about that later. But this is just a straight. Primordian is the reroll trait. What it does. So okay, I said the 3 is an econ trait. Well, okay, the 3 has an econ trait. So these, I guess this is closer to like not Honeymancy, Boombot. No, it's kind of like somewhere between. It's like Honeymancy, pretty much. At 2 you get the Swarmlings, and at 3 you get more, and you get econ. So that's pretty good. And yeah, just on the basis that this trait's entire purpose is to be a 1/2 cost reroll, surely Riot's not gonna go the whole set without it being playable. So yeah, that's why this board, because I don't think it's very good otherwise, but just based on the fact that this trait exists to be this comp is why I'm here on this page. And then you cap out with some units that fit. Uh, play on Riven, Kaisa, Tomkinch. Yeah, no, for sure Riven's gonna be your secondary carry. Okay, this is a funny one. So Samira has a passive. Whenever an enemy is knocked up, shoot them, dealing damage and entering the groove. So there are a lot of units that have knockups. I don't know what all of them are off the top of my head. I don't know if there's more, but yeah, we. Oh, this worked. Whoa, that's the first time I've seen Nunu in like 3 days. But yeah, that's comp is built around that. We have a bunch of these, and then we're filling out traits. So 3 cost reroll, play around Samira. She's just an AD caster. This build is more built around the fact that enemies are going to be knocked up a lot, and we want that auto to do a lot. If the number is low enough, then she's probably just going to get a mana item instead. But this is like raw damage. And then Zaya gets utility items because she kind of spreads it well, I think. And then between these two, I don't know who's a better. I think Ornn's a better tank, so I am putting stuff on him. But this is a very good double trouble comp, which I'll talk about later. And in that version, I main tank Rost. Rogue Kaisa Fizz. I just tried to play. I mean, I see 3 costs of the same trait, so I tried to play around it. This result is like okay. Um, we have their main traits activated. Uh, and then extra stuff. We get Riven here too. Like it works out. Yeah. And then you can cap out this board with like this stuff. But this is level 7 board, and it's a 3 cost reroll, so you roll on 7. Fizz, okay, this is probably wrong. I know Riven probably builds this. I don't think builds this. But I don't know for sure. But I think uh this one is probably wrong. And then Kaisa, it's very similar to last or set 15 Kaisa. She just shoots her Q and a bunch of bullets. And that's it. And Fizz dashes around. And then every 3 he throws like a shark thing. And then your main tank here. There isn't a good 3 cost tank here to fit. Or because the trait web fit so nicely, I'm just putting your main tank items on Ramus. It's kind of sus if you don't hit the Ramus on 7. But you can find something in the meantime. Like you could chill with a Ornn 2 if you don't hit a Ramus. Or even like Ornn 1. Primordian Show Ezreal. So I am looking at scaling and I'm looking at all the things that you have, and I think this is a pretty funny board if it ends up. I think this could work out. So, Cho'Gath, he eats people and he gets max health every time he does so. He doesn't even have to kill them. Okay, oh, okay. So he gets health on cast, and if he kills them, he gets more. That's pretty cool. Uh, so this is mana generation. So yeah, he also fits well with this Primordian core. So, and this is an econ trait, and then Timebreaker is also an econ trait. So we have super econ, and this Shogoth is gonna stack up. Primordian also it does damage based on damage taken. So if Shogoth's really tanky, he's gonna take a lot of damage. So he's gonna do a lot of damage. And then Ezreal, he is another. I think he's an infinite scaler. I don't know for sure, but he fires a blast, and every takedown, he gets a drone that does damage to the current target. I don't know if this is per combat or permanent. If it's like for takedown in combat, it's not that interesting, but like it still like works with the comp. But if it's like infinite, That just makes it cooler because we have two infinite scalars. Or two permanent scalars. Yeah. And then we cap out with Riven and Tahm Kench for traits and for, I mean, they're just good units. And yeah. This one I really want to play, but I need an emblem, so. Team Alessandra. This one I also like, just based on like the power curve. It's very similar to like set 12 Zoe Ari comp, like the Scholar comp. So this is Shepherd Vanguard. You're playing around Teemo, a primary carry who is projected to be very good. And then you have your Vanguard tanks, and you have Lysandra as another Shepherd. And on 5, you're just trying to fit in a third Shepherd, so your level 5 board's going to be like these 4 plus like Meepsy or Alawi. And then you cap out with like these good units. And then the positioning wise, okay, the positioning is also similar because this is single target, like DPS machine, and then this is AoE that punishes cluster that wraps around this. So this positioning was very standard in that Ari comp. And yeah, but it's a secondary carry and this is the primary carry, I think. And yeah, you can get Arbiter, that might help, maybe. And you have the summon from Shepherd. So yeah, this is another one I am excited to try. Meeple Vagar. Uh, this one I think can be okay. I don't expect this to be good, but I mean, I just built a comp around Vagar. I think it can work. You one cost reroll around like 2 Bastion, Vagar plus, yeah, like 3 Meeple, 2 Nova. So you add 1 Meeple, add in another Nova, and then you cap out with a bunch of like higher tier units. Vagar is just a pretty standard caster. His stuff scales with Meeples, with Meeps, whatever. And then Poppy is a. You have Aatrox and Poppy as tanks. Uh, Poppy has like an aura, and Aatrox is just a very straightforward heal and do damage. Poppy's at least is interesting, so I think she's gonna be the main tank. Even though she might be like individually less tanky, she shields. Her Meeple bonus gives shields to her allies, so because of that, I think she's gonna be the main tank. And then she also gives an aura that gives more resists. So yeah, maybe you'd probably position Poppy like middle to keep her alive longer, but I'm not sure. And then he gets crit items, and you cap out with literally just 2 random meeples, assuming that because the way that these traits normally get balanced, uh, Vagar is probably gonna be super dependent on meeple, so I just took that into account. Vagar Caitlyn, this is just a board that I ended up making that's kind of fits. It's kind of similar. It's just a variation of the previous board where it's like I don't even know how to describe how I got here, but I mean this is just another variation where you play around Caitlyn as well. Maybe this is good. Zoe Pike. This is a Zoe board. I tried to fit around enough things, and it ended up working out okay. Zoe, she throws her paddle star and like ricochets a lot, and then Pike's spell is rather problematic, I think, because he de-corners enemy carries, which can be very dangerous, like for them. and then he's just an assassin. Otherwise, he like goes to them and he like stabs them. But I think Pike, even like as a not reroll, just as a unit, is probably gonna be really annoying to deal with. But this core, just you just play two cost reroll around like this core, which fits kind of well. Mord is probably a better main tank than Meepsy, I think, but I'm not too sure about that. You activate Arbiter. If there's a good Arbiter, maybe you can get in LeBlanc. I completely kind of forgot about LeBlanc here, but that just depends on what the Arbiter is. But yeah, you have four Vanguard. Your board's pretty tanky. Some Voyager, and yeah, Space Crew Gwen. This is Gwen comp. I think I have two. This is the Space Crew variation because I'm looking at what the traits do, and I'm like, five Space Groove is very broken, or not very broken, but it's very essential to Space Grooves. So I figured I should try to play around that. So this is the board I came to playing around that, and then yeah. So the resulting board, he just hits Gwen Pantheon, and you play secondary carry Riven. It's hard to play a secondary carry otherwise. It's like a two cost, so you just have something item hold for Riven, and then she'll do enough work here, and then you play a bunch of high cost, like high tier units here. And then the other Gwen board is this one, more rogue centric. Play around Gwen Kaisa, and similarly, you're just playing high tier units. Uh, Main tank is Mordekaiser, whereas here it was Pantheon. That's just how the traits up, because like you have this situation where like if you look at Space Groove, there are no two costs. If you look at Rogue, there's no two costs. So there's a lot of units like this that end up having a hard time finding a board. So I had to design boards where they have a partner uh that works with them, particularly a tank to reroll. So yeah, that's how we ended up on these boards. Even if they're not like perfect, just on the basis of having a two cost tank to reroll with them is pretty important. Now we have Psionic Urgot Victor. This was a variation of the other ASOL board that I showed. This is the real version. Uh, it's as simple as that. We have Psionic. Another very similar one. It's like the same thing. Brawler. This one plays around Akali Maokai just because you get the Nova bonus between these two. It's like, it just depends on how good your Psionic item is. If your Psionic item is good for Victor, you probably play this one. And if it's not, you play this one. But this one's like, I don't know. They're both very similar. It's like the same idea. But this one plays around Mech and Psionic, and this one is more. I think this is like a better made comp. So this one's probably gonna be better, but I included both because they're different enough. Next we have Gnar reroll. Uh, I tried to get two costs to match. Uh, the core was around Meeple and Sniper. You can get Timebreaker in for Econ, so I figured you might as well do that. And yeah, Gnar is just 80 carry Gunsu's user. There's a ton of them this set, so you're gonna see a lot of these units build very similarly. In this case, your tank is gonna have to be Meepsy, who's not like a terrible tank, but they are a CC units, and that usually takes into their tanking power budget. So I'm not like too confident about it, but I think it should be a pretty okay core. Like on 6, you're just playing a Bastion, and then you put in these. Milio Pike, this is a Milio board. Uh, I tried to fit in some stuff. So you have your good frontliners. You have Pike, who hopefully gets a good psionic item. If not, maybe you don't play this. Between these three, I don't know who's the tank. Just depends on the numbers. But yeah, we have this Melio board. Melio is like Zoe, except his spell is based on Fate Weaver, so it's basically Zoe, but with more RNG. So I don't know if that's better or worse. But that's Melio. And then Piker talked about. And then finally we have Bruiser Kaisa. This is another board that I like scaled down from like a 6 Bruiser core. So we have this nice reroll. You play Maokai or Kaisa, and then these other units to round out traits. You get the Akali, Maokai, Urgot core, so they innately spell crit, which probably does a lot here for these units. And then you have some Brawler for time. And then overall, it becomes really stable because you have really well planned out traits. So this one is probably going to be okay. And we have augment dependence. We have all the hero augments plus double trouble Samira. I'll do this one first, just because I already showed it. Basically, when we had set 9 Talia, who had the same knockup passive as Samira, that was super broken. So this is the same thing. The second Samira will hold your utility, and you're gonna play the comp the same way, except on 7 you just play second Samira instead of like your Nasus or whatever. And then on 8 to 9 you go for a second Rost. Rost is your main tank because he knocks up. So I feel like that's gonna matter. So having 2 of them will make it more tanky. And he also, I think, probably does more damage too with double trouble, so that's probably gonna be pretty good. And then yeah, we're maximizing burst damage here. When any unit's knocked up, both of these are gonna fire. So that's gonna be very, very strong, I expect. Now all the hero augments. Poppy's hero augments. I'll go to here, because this is what I have. Poppy turns her into a ranged ADC. So Poppy's a ranged ADC. I don't know if it's AD or AP. I assumed AP, but it might be AD. I hope it's not AD, because then that kind of messes this up. But yeah. So Meeple has this characteristic where you can print stuff if you have 7. However, to get to 7, you need to hit Rammus and Corki. So I don't really think you're gonna do that. If you want to actually have like stage 2 and stage 3 power, so we probably have to reroll. So this is what we landed up, or we landed. You're just playing around Bastion, Nova, like the traits that you have activated. So Caitlyn fits because she connects Corki and connects Aatrox. So that's just fortunate in that regard. And then the rest is just high tier units that fit on the board. Aatrox, his thing gives him a low mana 3-hit combo. When his Nova move happens, he gains more max health inside. So, built it around Nova because this augment told me to do so. Same thing, you play around pretty much the same core because it's the same units, and yeah, you end up with like almost the same board, except this time we're playing around Nova. NASA's hero. This just makes him an infinite scaler. This is like sets. I mean, there's multiple, but I mean, sets 8 hero augments, and I think there's probably another one. But he just gets stronger with each kill, so we're playing for him to do damage. We have Space Crew, Vanguard. We have Teemo's a duo carry, but I'm not too sure how good he's gonna do with like low items. So I think it's possible that your secondary carry is just gonna be like LeBlanc or Nami or something, but we'll see. But yeah, getting 5 space crew is pretty important because it gives him the stats that he needs to like actually do damage. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to without seeing the numbers. It's hard to predict how much damage he's gonna do. If the numbers are good enough, maybe you just play 6 Vanguard, but I don't know for sure. This is another possibly higher cap version I made. Uh, you have more 5 costs, but it also takes an emblem, so who knows? Jax is a 2 cost, yeah. So Jax, this is set 8 mech Jax. He gains attack speed and he jumps to nearby enemy. He gets ramping on hit damage that stacks for the rest of combat. So he's gonna pretty clearly build like this. If he had like a rapid fire cannon, that's probably gonna be really good. I looked for a duo carry. The thing I landed on was Gnar, so yeah, that's what we're doing. And then as for a tank, there's no 2 cost tanks that really work here, so we're tanking Ornn. You're gonna be on Ornn 2 probably for a while, but that might be okay because Ornn 2 is supposed to be really good. And we cap with Zaya just because we have Stargazer. But you're not gonna play Stargazer for most of the game. And then 6 Fashion, just because those are his traits. And because it's a ramping trait, or it's a ramping spell, so we want to give him as much time as possible to do that. And also, like I've said before, 5 Stargazer is pretty sus. Mord Hero is different from the play test as far as I know, because what it says here is Mordekaiser becomes an auto attack based AP carry whose channel is a burst of attack speed for as long as his mana to spend. So this is more like set 9 Mordekaiser, I think. Or he just does a lot of auto attack damage. So I think he's gonna build like this, maybe. And then we have 2 costs to reroll him with. Uh, your level 6 board is this, which I didn't show here, but if you need help visualizing that. We have this, which lines up pretty well, trait-wise. The other route is with Zoe. I'm just gonna take this into account, just so in case. The reason I made this one is because you have a 2 cost tank to reroll it with, but you might not need that. Yeah, just different alternatives. Gragas hero, it makes him self-destruct. He sacrifices his health to do massive AoE damage in a 4 hex radius. 4 hex radius is like almost the whole board. So yeah, it'll do a lot of damage. So I have him in the center. He's gonna try to maximize damage. Uh, in this board, he matches traits with Pike, and Pike is pretty good. So yeah, in this board, I have Pike as a utility like CC bot. Because he can decorner carries, which means he can bring them into Gragas's blast radius, and that I think is gonna be really crazy. The level 6 board is 4 Bruiser, Pike, Lysandra. I don't know what the Lysandra's for, but I think it's just Dark Star, I guess. I mean, that kind of fits when I think about it. But yeah, you cap out with some pretty decent units, and you get 4 Psionic. Hopefully, the Psionic items are good. I mean, you'll land on something because Gragas can use any of the tank or AP ones, and then Pike can use any of the AD ones. And you'll probably get. I don't know what the rules are going to be, but you're probably going to get like a Gragas one guaranteed. And then as for whether you get a Pike one, that one might be RNG. Because it's probably going to be like you get the tank one and either AD or. I don't know for sure. Not going to pretend to know. But yeah, I think he for sure needs healing. Gragas for sure needs healing because otherwise he's gonna kill himself. But I think he can afford to scale, but there might be a world where that might not be allowed. Well, I mean, it just depends on the balance. But I think the Pike is the important part of this comp because he can bring the cornered carries into Gragas explosion radius. Pike hero augments, because he has his own hero augments. Even though he is a carry, he got a hero augment. So that's kind of weird. But basically, it resets and gives him gold. So this is a very similar comp. So we're playing around Pike. And yeah, if the numbers are high enough, this guy will be really strong. But, yeah, otherwise, it's like basically the same comp. And yeah, that's all the comps pretty much. Because these aren't comps. This is yeah. Next we have artifact holders, which I thought about mostly. This is pretty straightforward because like if you know the types of champions that work, it's just the AD bruiser gets the AD bruiser item, the tank gets the tank item. We have a couple instances where like Gliding Jewel, for instance, where you want it on like very frequent damage. So these are the ones that I thought fits that. Dawn Core. Well, okay, so this is what I think about Dawn Core. There's a lot of really good users, and I think some of them might become too strong. So yeah, I do kind of expect that to be problematic because the average mana cost in this set is very low. So because of that, Dawn Core is really strong, and I think that might be a problem. But we'll see soon. 80 fighters, Eternal Pact. So this set has some stuff to work with because we have Replicator. Depending on how it works with Eternal Pact, Whether you get the shield once or twice, because when the uh every 6 seconds shield your ally. Oh wait, no, never mind. It doesn't matter when you get. Never mind. Never mind. I didn't know what Eternal Pact was. I've never clicked on that item. It's okay. Fish bones. You have a couple units that kind of, I think, targets. Like, it doesn't really matter what they target. So that is a bit better for fishbone stocks. Flicker blades, like Warthog said, Ginsu's is a good item on this champion. Yeah, there's a lot of champions. Gambler is kind of similar situation. Gold collector, kind of good on these assassins, but also just any AD units. Hellfire Hatchet, all these melee auto attackers. Horizon Focus, these are the best CC units. Or these are the ones with AoE crowd control. There's a couple like Leona that have single targets, but I don't think that's really valuable. Hull Crusher, any frontliner, any fighter. Lich Bane, these are low mana cost champions. So, yeah. Any tank for Light Shield. Luden's Tempest. These are the ones I project to have high burst damage, but I don't know for sure. Because I don't get to see the numbers. Middens, any melee carry, any tank for Mobile's Mill. Prowler's Claw, these are like all the AD assassin type champions, so that's what I think. Rapid Fire Cannon. The range seems like it's going to be problematic in this set. This is the only range extension, I think, but there's a lot of abilities that I have no idea how they work. Like if Zed keeps the stacks on the clones, or like how Fiora's vitals work, or Urgot's dashing, or Diana's orbs. Cho'Gath's ability targets the lowest percent health, and if he has bonus range, maybe that means something. Seeker is just mostly the AP fighters. Silvermere, there's a couple. Okay, this is tanks. Jin has fixed attack speed, and then hero augments, and then Zed Graves. I don't know how they work, so maybe it's good. Snipers focus any range carry. Worse on snipers because they already have damage amp. Static Shiv on the AP auto attackers. Talisman of Ascension, I think probably Cho'Gath. Maybe Maokai. No idea how it works on Zed. Uh, might be good on mechas. And down any tank. Darken Bow on AD auto attackers. Darken Scythe on like these like dashing champions. Or champions with really high base AD. Aegis on any tank. I'll do like Cho Maokai because those are projected to have a lot of health. Darken Staff on, I don't know, I just think it's gonna be good on these. It's like not really like how it scales is kind of weird, but I think it'll be good on casters that need a bit of burst damage in addition to their thing. So this is like AoE spells kind of. Then Titanic is on AD bruisers that have like health. Body don't let any tank. Wits End, AP auto attackers. Prioritizing the melee ones, but I mean just any of them. And Johnny has any AP carry. Nothing here was particularly like like complicated. Maybe the RFC Cho, but we don't know about that. Emblems. So these are the comps I think you play if you have an emblem. Like it's just gonna link to the previous comps where you can kind of hit the +1. So this one we hit like the Dark Star board. Who would have thought? This one Rogue Riven, put on Shen or Corki. Stargazer on the Stargazer board. Space Groove on the Space Groove board. Meeple. Arbiter, I don't know. Arbiter on the Arbiter board. Primordian Cho'Gath, that's one I think is like actually thought out. Nova, anyone? I think it's I don't know what the Nova thing does for the emblem. I don't know what the striker selector. Like the emerald bonus is good, but the striker selector thing I don't know what that does, so I can't really know for sure who to put it on. Marauder Kindred just because I have it in this thing. Challenger, we have Holly in like basically the same comp, and then LeBlanc in this comp, which kind of fits because she also likes attack speed. And yeah, Voyager Sona in the Voyager board, Shepherd in the Shepherd board. Bastion, there's a lot of different. Like until I know what the emblem effects are, you can just put it on anyone in a board, or you can use Bastion, Vanguard, Bruiser +1. For Rogue, put it on the Rogue board. I also think that like the Rogue Dash might be really valuable for Gragas hero. I mean, it's probably good on like a lot of the hero augments, but I think this one in particular, because he just like sends it right next to your carry, and then he just destroys the entire corner. Because like the counter to Gragas hero is the fact that he might get stuck on the front line, or he might end up wrong side, but the Rogue emblem might make him dash to the corner. So that might be something. Sniper Bard on the Sniper Xayah board. Psionic, I don't know. Because there's like a bunch of different Psionic boards, and I don't know which. This is like dependent on balance and also what the Psionic emblem effect is. Because a lot of like the good users of the Psionic items, it's mostly for like these effects. Like the four effects don't really like they're make the item better, but they don't make it like unique to the champion. Like this is more like niche than like this is a bad example, but like these are very generic, so it kind of doesn't matter. It's more like these that will determine like who you're putting the item on. In Anima Squad, I think this is better than the 6 Anima, but there's also 6 Anima. Yeah, that's my predictions. I hope that the set is live soon, but I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna take a break a little bit. I'll be live later when PBE is up. But I just wanted to get this out here. And all my predictions. So yeah, everyone who's here, thanks for sticking around.